Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on Wind Waker Unflooded, a YouTube channel dedicated to a 3D modeling fan art project where we are reimagining the world of Hyrule in the art style of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. It's been a lot of fun, and I just want to do a kind of new video for y'all. I do a lot of modeling time lapses, and I just want to break up the formula. Of course, I've been trying things with this podcast now, and I'm really excited about that. And I hope you are excited about that too. I'm always happy to plug it. Me and Alex get into some really interesting discussions, and I know we will continue to get into future interesting discussions in future videos. So stay tuned to the channel for all kinds of new content and new stuff that I'm making in the time lapses. And who knows? I don't know. I'm feeling. I've been really thankful for how many subscribers and views these videos have been getting, and I want to kind of reward y'all by doing new things and trying to respond to what y'all are interested in seeing. So feel free to comment down below if you like the new direction of the channel. If you're interested in seeing more stuff like the podcast, more discussions, more kind of one-off videos like this, where I'm just kind of talking to the camera, talking about some things. Let me know, because your feedback matters, and that's why I'm doing this video. I just wanted to do a video where I went ahead and responded to some new comments, because I feel like I haven't been doing that as much in the time lapses. I try to stay involved, and of course I try to reply to comments as I get them, because that's important to me. But yeah, I feel like when I'm recording voiceover, sometimes there's so many other things to get to that I don't always get to comment, responding to comments there. And I think it's nice to be able to do that in a vocal setting where you can hear my response. I think that's more meaningful than just a short little typed out reply where you can hear I can kind of talk through things, and you can hear the tone of what I'm saying. I think that just helps more for communicating with my audience, and especially because there's a lot of times in videos we're talking about ideas for the channel, and so I feel like all those little nuances are important. So I'd rather do that in a setting like this than just typed out, even though I try to type out responses to most comments. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's read some of your comments. So I'm not gonna start with that comment. I'm reading off my phone if you can't see. Yeah, here we go. This is from Neon Swift. Question: what will you do to show the edges of the map? Will it be endless mountains, clouds like Ocarina of Time, or an endless sea? This is a good question, and I want to just kind of talk about this. Because I've gone back and forth, and it may even just depend on how I'm presenting the map. Because there's a part of me that's like, almost wants to embrace like a hard cutoff, right? Where like the map just stops. It's like depictions of like the, like a flat earth, right? Like how it just kind of drops off, even if it's an ocean. And there's part of me that thinks that might be satisfying. But of course, like just for uses of renders within the world, and like it would be more immersive if it continues kind of into the horizon. That doesn't mean there's detail, but like there's a point where the detail stops, and then there's like a less detailed continuation of the world, whether that is a mountain or the ocean, like what they do with Breath of the Wild. To me, I do think that probably makes the most sense for this project for the sake of immersion. Though I don't know, and I may do versions either way, and like you said, like a cloud barrier is something that could be interesting too. Wind Waker's clouds are like really specific in their look, and we already have some kind of clouds for the skybox. And so I'm just kind of thinking through, I mean, there could be other kinds of barriers, and so, I don't know, like I'd like to play with that more and play with something in universe as well, as like, this idea that there could be like the ocean could continue, and at a certain point, whether there's a canyon on a side, or whether there's a, river that you could go down with your boat, but there's a dam set up, there's a bridge that's, fortified. There's something that's, I don't know, I love kind of in-universe explanations for the borders as well, because, I mean, countries in our real world have borders that are protected. There's walls, there's canals, and I'd love to kind of have that be set up for the borders of this map as well. And it doesn't have to be like a square. Like right now I'm designing the world in this quadrant system, but there could be, it could be useful to reestablish the borders beyond the use of quadrants. So I don't know. These are all things I'm thinking about, and I just wanted to respond to that comment because I think that's a great question that I'm not fully settled on. So I don't know. It's like And I like responding to questions with that in mind. I don't always have like a sure answer, and I want to communicate that to you. That part of the reason I like answering questions is to be able to think through it and invite you to comment more of your own answers as well. So I want to be straight with y'all. That sometimes I have like clear answers, and sometimes I think it's useful just to talk about these things. So here's one from Corey Timigan. Thank you for commenting. Corey says, I think that the filling the gaps is the most important part of this project. It's kind of the whole point, right? Just throwing in monuments and locations doesn't bring about a more full Hyrule on its own. So I love seeing the seams become knitted together. Keep up the amazing work. Yeah, this was in response on the video where I was doing the road leading to Kakariko Village. And I talked in the video about like how, oftentimes I try to make my videos about more interesting locations. It's whether it is, I think it's at Kakariko, it's Hiteno Village. I was doing the road to Hiteno Village. Sometimes I'm working on Hiteno Village, and this episode was just about the road, the pathways going there, the mountain itself. It's not really an iconic location. It's just like connecting the dots within this world. And I don't know, it's nice to read that, because it's that 100% is most of the work I'm doing for this world is that kind of work. It's stuff that's like, and I want to make the world interesting. And like you said, it's like that's one part of the work that I do, are the interesting monuments, the locations, where you can go, oh, yeah, okay, this is interesting. But I mean, within that, every world needs those in-between sections. And so I appreciate that comment that y'all are still interested in that. Because for me, it's like that is a good bit of the work that I do. And I think I've said this before. It's like I want to make that stuff interesting as well, like these roads in between locations. I want to figure out ways to make that more interesting, to do maybe more with bridges, chasms, forts, something that could kind of like spice it up so it's not just a path from A to B. And so feel free to comment if you have any more ideas about that kind of stuff, ways to kind of segment up a road so that it becomes more interesting to traverse. I'm all ears. I would love to know your ideas. But thank you. That's a great comment. Thank you for that. Similarly, WW Link Master X said, I simultaneously appreciate the realism and am annoyed by how efficiently windy these paths are. I hope there are strategically placed trees by the cliffs that can act as hook shortcuts, which is a great idea. And I think I responded to that comment. I also want to add some more points of interest along the path to ruins, caves, etc. And to that, Dragonborn Express said, maybe a couple of abandoned mines. That's a great note as well. Yeah, like I said, it's like I want to do more that like, just part of a world, and I'm a big hiker. I love hiking. I think part of hiking is like, you see the top of a mountain, but sometimes you have to wind around the mountain before you can even get to the top. It takes time, and sometimes it feels like, oh, I could just walk straight up, but there's not a path that leads straight up. It's this hard terrain, and, it's like I'd rather stay on the trail, even if I feel like I can see the top of the ridge right there, and I have to follow this windy path before I can get to the top. And I do want to kind of have that element in the world. It is realistic, but it's also just like, it means that, just like geometrically, the reason that it's like that is so that you're walking along the path of least resistance. So the trail itself doesn't have to be super steep, going upwards or downwards. It's easy to walk in, and that's why it's so windy. That's just and I think that it makes sense to keep it that way. And there could be changes to that, right? I could add in a set of stairs that have been added in to kind of artificially make it easier to climb up a steeper section. There's ways to keep playing with that, and I definitely want to make that more interesting for some sections and keep playing with that. But yeah, I mean, it's a it's a funny thing. I've talked before on this channel about kind of like how I deal with realism in this project, right? Because like inherently it's a cartoon. It's not realistic. But I do think like with the original Wind Waker game and so many other Zelda games, there are things that are motivated by realism. And it's like you have to like just be conscious of the needs of your project and the needs of your world. And maybe realism is not the right word, but it's like there's a point where you could be cartoonish, but if you're taking it seriously and you're able to take the world seriously, it will be more interesting and more nuanced because of that. Whether that is through the use of realism or by surrealism, or any other alternative there. Same with minimalism or maximalism. Is that the other word that I would want to use? It's you have to always think about the needs of your project with any project that you do, and it's and whenever you create those kinds of rules, think about how they can be broken as well. You can be cartoonish, but that doesn't mean you can't take the world seriously, and that's kind of where I want to sit with this project for sure. I appreciate that. Actually, before we get to reading the next comment, I think it's time for a short message, so I will talk to all of you again after the break. If you want to be able to support me as a creator, there's several ways that you can do that. Become a member on Patreon. It gives you access to exclusive bonus features and early access content in all of my filmmaking projects. Stuff like early access to scripts that I'm writing, storyboards, previs, rough cuts, and music that I compose. I'm a composer, and any music that you've heard in the background of this video was my music. So go to Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music and type in Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Look up Joe Kendrick on Spotify. And we're back. Thank you all for listening to that short message. Of course, I just want to let you know how you can support me as a creator. I always appreciate it. I don't make ad revenue from these videos. YouTube might be putting ads on the videos, but I don't make any revenue from YouTube. This project, Wind Waker Unflooded, is completely non-monetized for me. So if you want to be able to support me as a creator, all of those ways matter and are deeply appreciated. Thank you to everyone who's already become a Patreon member. You can also donate through Ko-fi, and listening to my music on Spotify is a great way to support me as well. But without further ado, let's continue the video and get on to the next comment. I've answered this question before, but I want to, it bears repeating. The question is, just what software are you using to make the map itself? I work completely in Blender. So there you go. It's, I feel like I've answered that before, but it's always, in case there are new viewers, there are things I think are worth repeating. And I don't like to get repetitive because I know there's a lot of you that watch as many videos as you can, but I also know that there's a lot of you that don't see every video, or you're recommended the channel just in the middle of the project and you haven't seen the Q&A, you haven't seen a podcast episode where maybe I answer questions. And so there are some things that I do think are worth repeating, and I'm sorry if you're a longtime viewer and you're like, Joe, I've heard you give this answer a million times, why do you keep answering the question? It's just because I know new people are watching and I want them to feel at home on the channel. I don't want them to feel like they have to do homework just to have their question answered, even if I have answered it before. If it's easy to answer, then I want to go ahead and answer it. And I think just like with that in mind, I want to go ahead and answer this comment. I'm not going to say their usernames just because the comment's a little more negative, and I don't want to draw attention to who said it, but I do want to respond to it, and not because it's negative, but just because it brings up questions that I think are worth answering about the channel, and I want to know what y'all think as well. And they said, dude, your commentary is absolutely horrendous, no substance, and super repetitive. Do some time-lapse modeling videos with a brief intro and then just play music. Trust me, your viewer drop-offs will improve immensely. And I bring it up just because, it's I don't care about, it's worded kind of negatively, and I don't care about that, but I guess I do want to ask, it's if y'all would prefer the time-lapse videos to just be music, is that a change worth making? And to me, it's I thought about that after getting that comment, and it's I don't care about the negativity. I have a good head on my shoulders. I could take a negative comment, but it's just a question of well, should I be changing the way I approach content on my channel? And I think it's just my answer to that is I'm going to have voiceover in my videos. I do think a part of what I like about the channel is that it's so personality driven. To me, that adds value, and I'm sorry if the voiceover gets repetitive, or if I answer the same question multiple times, or if you've watched previous videos and it's boring that I keep saying the same things. I keep telling you the same things. I keep introducing the project the same way. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry if I get repetitive, but I do think I'm going to keep having voiceover in the video, because to me it's, I just enjoy being able to talk with you, and that's a regular format where I can have conversations with the audience. And I think that's valuable. And I know a lot of the comments that I get in the videos are people not responding to the modeling work that I do, but responding to things brought up in the voiceover. So to me, that is really valuable. And it's, I thought a lot about it, but I do think, I'm sorry if you're not enjoying the voiceover, but if you want to keep watching time-lapse videos, I guess I'd encourage you, feel free to. I won't get offended if you watch it on mute, I won't be offended if you have to mute it, put on your own music, in the background, but, I do think as far as the way I'm producing the content, I'm going to keep talking in those videos. And so I don't know, I appreciate that comment, and I didn't want to say who wrote it just because I didn't want to bring attention to the username, but I do appreciate you leaving the comment. And it's, because if you have ideas or criticisms about my content, I want to know how I can improve as a creator and think through it. And if it's something like that where I think through it and I go, you know what, I'm not going to change my content, that may be the conclusion that I come to. But I'm really glad that you can voice your criticisms, and I do want to encourage you for the project and for the channel if you're watching my YouTube channel and you think to yourself, ooh, that's not how I would do this part of the project. Here's an idea. I want you to feel able to voice your negative feedback and your positive feedback. And I want you to feel like you can voice that. I'm not going to be hurt either way. Even though like I'd prefer it not to having a negative spin on the language that you use, but it's like, I don't care. I'm like, I'm a good sport. I want you to feel comfortable voicing all that because I do think about the feedback that you have. So that's why I think all that is worth bringing up. So now let's look at the next comment. This is from Dr. Ray 8. They said, this is coming along so nicely. I'm intrigued to see how various locations from different Zelda titles blend into this. Looking forward to the finished product. Thank you for commenting. I'm excited about the finished product too. And it's, it will be finished. This is a project that's like, I work on it and it takes a long time to get work done, but there will be a day when I'm done with it. And I don't know, like with y'all's support and with y'all's ideas, that I'm able to work on it a lot quicker than I was otherwise. So it's definitely possible that, within the next year, who knows, maybe there'll be a time where I go, you know what, guys, I'm done with the project. If you have any more ideas, I'm sorry, the project's done. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that. Like, just like, it's not, this is a project that I'm okay with whittling away at, and it can take as long as it needs to take. But there will be a time where, the project is finished. And, I still enjoy talking about Zelda. And if this project, if you have any ideas for how to continue this channel, I'd love to keep having a dialogue with y'all, with the audience, and talk about Zelda and make videos about the map and maybe go on to a new project. So comment if you have any ideas about what is next. What do you want to see? Because, I'm definitely interested in making reviews, retrospectives. That's something I'm interested in doing, and I don't want that to distract me from the modeling. I think that's mainly what I want to focus this channel about. But I am interested in having other discussions with y'all, and I really enjoyed being able to talk about Zelda with y'all. So I'm definitely interested in continuing to make content after this project, and continuing a conversation with the Zelda space. So that's definitely on my radar. I just want to let y'all know that, because I know y'all have asked that question before as well. This is the last comment I'm going to read today. Once again, thank you all for leaving comments. I always appreciate reading your comments and seeing your ideas. And like I said, both, the feedback that you leave matters, and whether that's constructive, negative feedback, I appreciate that too, of course. I'm not going to get offended if you have notes and critiques. I totally appreciate that. And of course, positive feedback helps too. So I'm going to end it off with this comment. This is from Paperoization. They said, you mentioned that your models aren't as good as the official models from the original game, and to some extent, I trust your expertise. You mentioned that yours aren't as efficient as theirs, and I barely knew what that meant before you explained, but I just want to say, as a layperson viewer, your models look great, and mesh with the original style extremely well. Keep it up. This project is a super cool idea. Thank you so much. I appreciate hearing that, because I do feel whenever I model, sometimes I feel very aware that like, ooh, like, I'm using the same textures, but the way that I use those textures just isn't as good as the original models. And, I want to push myself to make the models the best that I can be, so that it feels like it's made with the same design conventions as the original GameCube game. I want to match that art style as best I can. So I appreciate you saying that you feel like I've gotten there. I really appreciate that, and that means a lot. I'm proud of the work that I've done. I don't want to say that as if I'm not proud of it. I am proud of it, but I do want to continue to make things better and better as the project goes on. So I really appreciate that. They also went on to leave a comment. My obligatory location request, Tarm Ruins. It's always been a favorite Zelda location ever since I found it on my sister's copy of Oracle of Seasons as a kid. The music is so haunting and cool. I know there's a debate on whether or not Holojum even exists on the same plane of existence as Hyrule, but I'm running a Zelda Dungeons & Dragons campaign, dope, and decided to place Holojum upside down alongside the northern border of Hyrule. So Mount Cuckoo is part of a mountain range with the Hebra and Eldin. Interesting. Which puts Tarm around Akala, near these Zelda 2 locations from the video. Okay. Obviously, feel free to put it wherever makes sense to you. I appreciate that note there, and that idea. I want to look at the map and see, I think that makes sense. So along the northern border, inverted. I'm going to keep that in mind. I'd love to work on the map for Oracle of Seasons. I just finished a playthrough of Ages, and I want to put that in the map as well. I know it's debated as well. I know that's probably going to be controversial, But I love those games. I'm not as familiar with Seasons, but Ages has a really warm spot in my heart. I grew up playing that game, and I just recently beat it for the first time, going all the way through. Me and my roommate played through it, and it really was a joy. And I think just like from the in-game evidence, it's clearly not a part of the traditional Kingdom of Hyrule, but I think there's nothing to suggest that it couldn't be in the same continent. So it's beyond the normal borders, but yeah, same with the Oracle Seasons map, especially if it's all the way up there, near kind of the Zelda 2 locations as well, right? I think those are great spots, and I think the Ages map might work somewhere along the eastern border. So that's kind of where I'm thinking of it right now. But anyway, once again, I just want to thank you all for watching and for commenting. And I want to encourage y'all to keep commenting. It's a little hot in the shed right now, so I'm going to finish this video. Yeah, like I said, thank you all for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one. Without further ado, I'll let you go.